Like, if we hunching and you just like, I gotta get, I'm like, nigga, get off of me. Like, I don't want to do this no more. Hey, y'all. Welcome in and welcome back to episode 6 of The Quiet Part Out Loud.
Yeah. What's good, y'all? I'm Glory LaJoy, a.k.a. G Money, a.k.a. Big Glow with the dub, a.k.a. Glow if you know, and Lady G if you're nasty.
Okay.
And I'm with the best co-host in the world.
Hey, y'all, it's E.
Yay!
And if you're joining us, this is episode 6,
Yeah.
our final episode for the first season of The Quiet Part Out Loud. So thank you for hanging in and hanging with us.
Yeah.
And today we are going to be exploring the question, are we sexually liberated? So I'm going to pass it to my girl Glow to get into why this topic and why now. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, we're living in a really, I think we want to believe that we're living in a sexually liberated society right now, especially in America. I think, you know, this idea of promiscuity and laying down with whomever you want, doing whatever you want, all of the things is really heightened right now, especially through media and music and all of the things. And, you know, people will have their different opinions
For sure.
about that and how they feel about it. But when it comes down to it, regardless of where you fall and where you stand, there are some basic practices and basic information and education that we really should have. And I am somebody who started to engage in sexual activity early on. And through that experience, there were things that I had to learn in real time that I think if we were just more intentional about talking about it, right, and not letting sex be this taboo thing that even people who are having sex are not comfortable with talking about it. And I just think if you're going to be doing it, you need to be able to talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
And before we get into some of our opening discussion questions, wanted to take a moment to talk about, well, what do we mean when we ask the question, are we sexually liberated? Liberated, specifically in this context, meaning of a person showing freedom from social conventions or traditional ideas, especially with regard to sexual roles. So if I was to put that in my own words, it's that you have the autonomy and the ability to not have to conform to whatever you may have been taught is expected when it comes to sexual roles, when it comes to sexual identity, when it comes to your level of comfort as it relates to trying new things, whether you're into BDSM or you're into specific kinks or you have specific fetishes, which, sidebar, I went to a comedy show and the act was like engaging with the audience and asking people what their fetish was, because he was talking about how his fetish is that he found out he liked feet.
Okay.
And I had to like recalibrate, because I'm like, is a fetish and a kink the same thing? Is there enough of a differentiation to even there be a distinction about it? And the article that I found basically was saying there really isn't a huge distinction, but if you were to make one, a kink is something where it's like you have a preference for it.
Right, but it's not like it's
not a need.
Yes.
Yeah, whereas a fetish is like, you need that to be present in order for you to feel the pleasure, in order for you to enjoy the experience. Yeah. And so then I started thinking like, do I have any of those?
You better teach. You better teach. Taught me something. I didn't even think. I never thought about that. That's a really good question.
And you can learn something new every day. There's your proof.
Hey, listen. You ain't never too old to learn something. And when you feel like you know everything, it's a problem. Just so you know.
So yeah, we wanted to start there in terms of just framing the context of what we mean when we say liberated. Other people could have very different definitions, but that's what our conversation is really going to be framed by, is that it's this freedom from these prescribed or conscribed roles and having to conform to a certain standard in order to feel empowered in your body. That's what we mean. One of our first discussion questions for today is, what were the messages we received growing up about sexual practices and how did they affect us? Overwhelmingly, it was like, keep them legs closed. Stay in school, stay in them books. Yeah. I do remember my mom sitting me down and basically saying some iteration of that exact thing to me. And I think I took that very seriously. Okay. My education is something that's always been important to me, very strongly valued. And I went all the way to getting my master's, and it's like there are certain experiences that I've certainly missed out on. And maybe not missed out on, but just haven't had the practice with. And then I remember with like sex education classes, or like a health class, because that's what they would have called it around the time I was still in high school, middle school, and stuff like that. You really just got the bare minimum. It was learning about your body, but in very general terms, just kind of the different cycles and changes that you will experience from being a child to becoming an adolescent and going through puberty. And we learned from both sides what was going on with the girls' bodies as well as what was going on with the boys' bodies. I don't know if there was a separation of gender during those conversations or not, because I know some schools do institute that. Like when you get a little bit more specific, you focus on the girls for the female stuff and then the boys for the male stuff. But I think our classes were integrated, so we were learning at the same time. But then again, overwhelming the message was like abstinence, and if you are going to have sex, make sure you're using a condom. I don't really remember there being much emphasis on like testing as much. Although that was important, I think it was spoken to, but if my memory serves me right, it was mostly just like, don't be having sex. Because during that time, I was in high school around 2009. It was my first year in high school. So around that time, there was some spike nationally with like teen pregnancies. Maybe not as much as like in the 90s or the 80s or whatever, but it was still something that was talked about a lot. And I'm not really engaging with youth as much as I was. So I don't even know right now what the landscape is, and as far as teen pregnancy, if that's still like something that's heightened. I think nationally it has gone down.
Decreased.
But I mean, I don't think sexual education, sexual health is something that the school curriculum should shy away from. I think there are plans you can put in place for the parents to be very involved. And, you know, anytime there's something that's going to be included in a curriculum, you can obviously like send notices home. And if the parents are like, we don't feel comfortable with that being discussed. But then I think as a parent, it would then be your responsibility if they are talking about it at school, but you revoke their ability to be a part of those discussions in the classroom, then you need to be opening that door at home.
Absolutely.
Because if all of their friends are now talking about it, and we do know that young people, they get access to porn much earlier now with the internet and stuff like that. And at that stage of life, you're very much in tune with listening to what your friends are saying and what they're saying is cool. And even in my own experience, like I would hear conversations about what the girls did with the boys and who was putting it down and who wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And don't nobody really know what they doing at 16. But like, you know, it's some people that's got a little bit more experience because they've been out here a little bit longer in the streets. So I still have to say, like, overwhelmingly, the message was just like, don't have sex. And any of the adults that I could have come in contact with were very just buttoned up about it. Like, And I'm just like, you supposed to know. You supposed to be telling me something. So, how about you?
I'll start with sexual education. What I remember in school, our classes were actually gendered, so they did separate us. I want to say the one that I remember, the very first one maybe that I remember, is in 6th grade. It was really interesting because in retrospect, I don't think that we should be separated. You know, it's like this level of maturity and not necessarily being able to handle conversations with each other. But I think like the earlier, the better that we have, that we're in the same spaces and that we're having these conversations together. Because when it come down to it, if you are heterosexual or, you know, you have, you know what I'm saying? Like that's something that y'all gonna be doing together. So like, why are we separating when we talking about each other's body? So there's that. You know, I watched something. I forget who it was. I think it was Tasha Cobbs, who was talking about, I think her father said, a lot of more things are caught than taught. So a lot of stuff that we learn, we're actually... I mean, yes, there is some intention behind what we learn and we can be intentional about gathering knowledge. A lot of what we take in though is stuff that we come into just in our everyday conversations that you're in or around. And so, I will say that, like, I feel as though my position within sex was very much shaped by what I heard the adults that I was around, how they talked about sex or how they talked about their bodies. Also, it would be remiss for me to say that music and media and things like that didn't play a part into how I view me and what my sexuality was supposed to look like and how I expressed it. I think overall, back to your point around like parents and like this idea that exposing kids will then lead them to trying it, I just think that that's the wrong route. And I've heard people say that.
Yeah.
And I think we're constantly doing our children a disservice when we do not engage in these conversations and in a way that is just, you don't necessarily need to call the vagina is the vagina. That's not a bad word.
Right.
And calling it a pocketbook, which I get it, but in a situation where I'm really trying to help you understand your body, understand bad touch, good touch, the best way to explain and communicate is to say what it is. That's my vagina, that's my penis. Yeah. So that when something come down to it, God forbid somebody was touching a child inappropriately, there's no confusion. If they know that they got a vagina and somebody was touching their vagina. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Versus like, well, they was in my pocketbook. One could argue like, okay, you call that a pocketbook, but a pocketbook is a purse, so maybe she's confused, right? Yeah. We remove the ability for confusion when we're honest and transparent, and of course in a child appropriate way. However, we're made this way. We have these body parts. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Also, I remember them showing us a bunch of pictures. I think that was like this fear-mongering tactic where you show us all of the worst possible things,
especially when it came to educating us on sexually transmitted infections.
Like
it was the worst of the worst.
The worst pictures, and I honestly don't feel like they even explained. They didn't really give us too much to go off of outside of this person had sex and this is what this is and this is what it looks like, and it's kind of like. Yeah, in that moment it's scary, right? Yeah. But this is like, y'all talking to us for 30 minutes. We gonna have this conversation, be scared for a minute, and then go back to regular programming. And so like, just thinking about how we actually have those conversations and making it consistent, because it wasn't consistent. Those people came in one time, I want to say, within that health class, and then that was it.
So now let's talk more about messaging and experiences, but comparing it to other cultures.
Okay.
So the question is, compared to other cultures, how does the U.S. handle sexual health, body positivity, and creative expression?
So I will say I think that in other cultures, sex is a little less taboo because they don't over-sexualize people's bodies. Like, the body is viewed as art versus like a sexual symbol.
Can you give
so
an
I'm
example?
Thinking about like in France.
Okay.
They're very like open with their, like, you go to France and they have like statues of a naked body, or you go into certain places in Europe and there are like this nakedness, and it's not viewed as sexual, it's viewed as art. And I think in America we have a problem sexualizing things that actually don't have to be sexualized, such as, and when we're talking about creative expression, like dancing. So what we know as, like, this is gonna date me a little bit, but doing the pop or booty shaking or twerking or whatever you want to call it, right? Like, there are many cultures, especially in like African cultures, that's a part of the dance, that's a part of the expression, and they're not looking at it like that little girl is shaking her booty and she's fast. It is her expression of her culture and what she's been taught in her traditions. And it's not a bad thing. And so I think that when we think about what I talked about earlier in regards to understanding my sexuality as a young girl, when we see it in the music videos and we just see how women specifically are really objectified, and it ends up being about our body and how our body looks and how it's received by the male gaze. You know what I'm saying? And all of that impacts the way in which we view ourselves and our sexuality and how we express it. And of course that goes into body positivity, because if my perception of my body is based on what others are telling me it should be, others that are not even like me, then that could potentially alter or fix the way in which I'm seeing myself. If the attractiveness is based on what men think or males think, then I could be attractive, but because they say I'm not attractive, now I think that I'm not attractive.
Right.
Or I think that there's something wrong with me, and that's not the case. And so I do think with social media, we're finding a lot of like people having stuff to say about folks or about certain populations of people that you're not even a part of the population, but you have so much to say about our body. I mean, even with, Roe versus Wade being returned, having a male predominantly political space tell us that we don't have the right to decide what is good for our body.
Right.
Even though most of them don't have our makeup. They don't have the thing that they not going through the same thing. So how exactly you can't even host a life. You can't bring a life into this world, but you gonna tell me that you get to tell me if I can or if I can't and how I do it, and it actually just doesn't make sense. It's like, get out of women's business. The best thing for you to do is listen, learn, understand. You can ask questions, but to push your perspective when this is not an experience that you have, is very not cool.
For lack of a better term.
Yeah. Not cool.
It's ick.
It is. It's quite ick. Actually, that's a better way to say it.
Because if the tables were turned.
Right.
No.
Right.
It wouldn't even be. But the tables have never been turned. Because we live in a patriarchal society. And that dictates a lot of how our government works. Very valid points that you made. The only thing that I would add on, you mentioned France being a little bit more abundant, if you will. That's not the term I wanted to use, but we gonna ride with it. We gonna ride with it. And I think of countries that may be the opposite of that. So they're far more restrictive.
Yes.
Earlier I mentioned adults being buttoned up. There are literally people that will very much cover, cultures that very much believe in covering, and the only time that a woman will be uncovered, and I don't mean like stripped naked, like showing shoulder, showing hair,
knee,
is when they're in the home with their husband, because that is something that the culture or the religion prides itself on. So compared to that, I think the U.S. is far more. Far more. Loose.
Yeah, loose is a wonderful word.
I don't know if I want to say
it's loose. We some loose.
I mean, yes, but I don't want to. I don't want to imply that those cultures are like whatever the opposite.
Okay, that's
loose
fair.
be, and that be like a negative connotation.
Yes,
I don't. But I mean, in the context of like loose meaning like free spirit and kind of just doing the most or doing whatever. Yeah, the United States is very much that. In terms of culture, but I still think we mentioned earlier, the education piece is very much lackadaisical.
Hello? Lackadaisical.
Lackadaisical. Yeah. I said it wrong the first time, and so then it also informed how you were pronouncing it just then. So lackadaisical. That's the word of the day, y'all.
Yes.
So yes, the U.S. is very much lackadaisical when it comes to the provision and the depth of sexual health and education. That is also developmentally appropriate.
Yeah.
My opinion on how that affects body positivity is much of what you said, but also too, when you do find yourself in a partnership, whether it is monogamous or polyamorous, it's also going to make you, it could possibly, I'm not saying it's going to, like it's a definite, but it's possible it could lead to grave discrepancies when it comes to consent and how to set boundaries within a sexual relationship. And then also, again, like how empowered you feel or how confident that you feel within your body to accept your body as it is, and then wanting to conform to like a beauty standard that really isn't achievable or possible. There have definitely been waves with shifts in the feminist movement and trying to take power back or just reclaiming not having to conform to certain standards or ideas about sexual health or about sexual body positivity or creative expression. So that I've seen waves in that on social media where, like, for example, there's been like a trend on social media where they take like a piece of floss or like a string and they're like, look, babe, like this is my outfit. Like, I'm going to the pool party and this is what I'm wearing. And they'll be like, that's a string. Babe.
Yeah.
Like, that's what all the girls are doing. Like, this is the trend now. Like, we're outside, we're having fun, we're getting sun, and this is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, and then the guy is just trying to be supportive, like, yeah, babe, you you do you.
Yeah.
Because I love and I support women.
Struggling.
But obviously it's a joke. Like, no one is actually going to. I mean, you might as well just go to a nude beach at that point if you're going to wear floss.
Yeah.
I think there's always room for improvement is how I'll wrap up my comments on this question. Is there's always room for improvement. And I think when you really involve the communities, the citizens, you're always going to have, you know, a spectrum. And you're going to have one end of the spectrum that wants to be more restrictive and very close-minded, and then you may have the other side of the spectrum where they're a little bit more open, a little bit free-spirited, and we can find that middle ground that's going to ensure that our children, that we ourselves feel empowered, that we feel informed, so that we can be confident in the way that we move and how we engage with people. And I think that really segues us very nicely into our last discussion question before we move into another segment, which is, how prepared did you feel about the changes your body would undergo over time, and how has that influenced your body positivity? So
I feel like y'all gypped us. Y'all being the education system for a long time, and I mean us, me being a born female. I think that there are so many things that my body hasn't even got to yet that, like, I've overheard women who are maybe 10 years older than me talk about, and it's like they didn't learn about it in real time. What are some examples? Pregnancy, the things and shifts that your body goes through if you choose to be a mother. It is scary. It's scary, y'all. It honestly is scary. And it doesn't have to be, but the fact that people have to learn about it in real time is what makes it scary. Thyroid. I don't even know how to say it right.
Reproductive?
Yeah, like I've learned a lot about that. And found out that that's something that has come up amongst women a lot. Like, you know, you can go from being not lactose intolerant to being lactose intolerant after pregnancy, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, I met one girl who she wasn't lactose before. After she had her kid, she was lactose, and he was lactose. So I don't know, but that's the point. That's the point. Like, I think even when we talk about, like, our periods, come on, like, we quite literally bleed once a month consistently for like years. And then when we stop, we go into menopause and our hormones are all over the place. We're always sweating. We're always hot. Like, these are things that we naturally go through, and there's no way to turn it off unless you some people get on birth control, not because they are even having sex, but because their periods are so bad. They throw up during their periods, that their cramps are so bad that it makes it impossible for them to just do day-to-day things. And this is not all women, or not all females, but there are some females who have to get on birth control just to not have to do the period thing. There are just so many things that happen with our body that we are just not really prepared for. And me personally, as I shared at the beginning, a part of that was me. Like, I started having sex early. I didn't have no understanding of a lot of that. Like, I had started my period, but I also was put on birth control relatively early, so it stopped my period. And that was that. I didn't have to deal with no period. It took me looking into birth control on my own to understand the side effects, and then to decide, okay, I don't think I want to do this no more, because it could potentially have an impact on me later when I am ready for children. And I don't want that to happen. So then I have to have a conversation with myself about what's more important. Having sex right now just to get one off, or being more intentional about when and who and how, and whether or not I even participate in sex at the moment, because I do want to have children. And the decisions that I make, even STDs, if you have an STD that goes unchecked, it could potentially lead you to a place where you can't have kids. We need to be talking about stuff like that, because if you do want to be a parent, you have to be thinking about that. And some people might feel like, well, that's later, and this is now, and I want to be free. And that's cool. However, at the end of the day, we do have a responsibility for those who come after us. In regards to how all of that, influences my body positivity, I think that as I'm getting older, I've learned so much more about my body. And a part of that has been talking to women who are older than me. And being open with asking questions, being willing to ask them questions. And women who've had their first baby, I'm like, so what was the experience like? Like, how did you feel about it? And you'll find that they are open to sharing. Like, I'm not saying you should just go out here and just be asking somebody you don't know, like, so your first pregnancy, was it scary? What happened? Like, but it goes into a deeper conversation around intergenerational relationships and outside of family members, and really creating space to have those open table conversations, those kitchen table conversations, and utilizing those spaces to engage in educating yourself and engage in educating each other. I've practiced abstinence on and off for the last few years, and it honestly was one of the most empowering things that I could have done, because I had been engaging in sex without actually understanding me and my body and the part that I play as a woman in the bedroom, and like the power in that, and like what that means, and like it's a beautiful thing. And I feel as though a lot of us are just we're not told about our bodies and those things because they don't want us to feel empowered. So the empowerment is really in taking the time to let your body grow. To the young ladies, if we have anybody that is, 14 and 15 who is engaging in sex, babe, it's going to be there.
Well, thank you for sharing. I'll start with, because the question again is how prepared did we feel about the changes our body would make over time, and how has that impacted my body positivity. No, I felt so unprepared about what was going to happen. Even when I started menstruating when I was like 11, 12, and the most that I knew about it outside of like what we talked about in the classroom and like what was going on inside the body, specifically within the uterus, because you're shedding your uterine lining. So I had that, but it was just like, I didn't know how it was going to affect my mood. I didn't know, when I was younger, I had some very severe mood swings. You could ask my mama, because she was like, ooh, you must be on your period. And like, obviously, like that's the running joke amongst the sex. It's just like, true. Oh, whenever you must be having a day. Whenever we're having a day, that's what people say. But no, like for some people, and like I said earlier, I was recently diagnosed with premenstrual disorder. It's more than just having a mood swing. Like you almost kind of fall into like a depressive state. At least that's been my experience. And so I was just like, I don't want to be taking any type of SSRIs or any of the other type of antidepressant drugs, because I just don't want to mess with my physiology in that way. And obviously I know birth control is having an impact, but it seemed like it seemed like, because I don't know, and I also don't think like how I deal with depression or how I manage my depression, it was so severe that I needed to be taking those types of drugs, medications. So the birth control has been pretty even kill for me. Yeah. So that's why I take it. Your vagina is not the outside that you see if you ever take a mirror and look down at your organs. The outside is called the vulva. That consists of the labia majora and the labia minora. The labia majora is the outside that has much of the hair, your pubic hair on it. Those are your thickest outer lips. The labia minora are the inside, which is the more pink area. And then those three holes, at the very top, you have where your clitoris is. And they've actually discovered recently that the clit is not just that little bulb. It actually like goes deeper into, well, we can't see it, into the body. And it's just a bunch of nerve endings that do help with pleasure. And oftentimes, like that needs to be stimulated from women to orgasm. And then you have right underneath that, like if you just drop maybe a few centimeters down, you'd find a little tiny hole that's called the urethra, and that's where your urine comes out of. And then below that, you're gonna have the vaginal opening, and again, that's where the canal is. And if you put a finger up there, get stopped by your
Mm-hmm.
cervix.
Mm-hmm.
And then above the cervix is where your uterus is going to sit, and that's where all the blood is coming from when your lining starts to shed, when you actually bleed. I got like a little fixated on like checking on, because previously I had never really looked downstairs too much. I didn't know what was between my legs. To be fair, like I just did it, you know.
We're gonna get into some stats. I'm gonna share with y'all some numbers to just give you an idea of what this looks like on the ground. So we're gonna start with herpes. There are 2 different types. The first one is HSV1. That's oral herpes. This has shown up in 48% of the population from 14 years old to 49 years old. So ages 14 to 49, within that population of people, 48% of folks are living with and having to deal with oral herpes, okay? That is a stat from 2015 to 2016. So that was the last updated number we got based on our research and what we could find. It says that it is slightly higher in females, 51%, compared to males, 45%. But prevalence suggests that like it stays around that population percentage of 48%. The next one, the second type of herpes, is genital herpes, also known as HSV2. So generally speaking, y'all, 1 in 6 Americans have genital herpes. 1 in 6. So what does that mean? If I'm in a room with 6 people, one of us, it's more than likely that one of us has genital herpes. Mm-hmm. That is a lot of people. Okay, that's a lot of people. I don't know if y'all understand. Like, so if it's 12 people, at least 2, and so on and so forth.
Right.
So I need y'all to understand that.
Very common.
It's very common. So it says that with a prevalence higher in females than males, prevalence is population. Just so y'all know, prevalence is population. So it's higher in females than males. Most people are unaware. They do not know that they have this infection, okay? The U.S. sees roughly 572,000 new cases of infections among folks ages 14 to 49 yearly, okay? Which means that 1 to 6 is going to constantly go down to 1 to 5, 1 to 3, 1 to 4. Y'all get what I'm saying? So, like, people don't know that they have it. Oftentimes it goes unchecked, which increases the potential for it to be passed to somebody else. And this is why getting tested is very important. Knowing what's going on with your body is very important. And being able to talk to the partner or partners that you are engaging with is very important. Next one, chlamydia. Most commonly reported STI, with over 1.6 million cases reported nationwide. 1.6 million.
That's like the population of a U.S. city.
1.6 million people, bro. Yeah. In 2021, the national rate was approximately 492 cases per 100,000 people. That's a lot, y'all. That's a lot. Like, come on, that's a lot. Rates of reporting among men and women increased in 2022 and 2023.
Because we were clapping cheeks like crazy during the
Because
pandemic.
everybody was locked in the house. But they made their way to somebody's house and was doing it. Unprotected.
Hello? Raw dogging it.
Cases are typically reported between the ages of 15 and 24. As I'm listing this out, keep in mind the age ranges, y'all. Because it's very consistent throughout all of these. And there's something to discuss there, for real. Last but not least, gonorrhea, which is the second most commonly reported STI nationwide, with over 600,000 cases reported annually, yearly, 600,000 new cases annually. Do y'all understand that? I don't think they understand me. I don't know if they hear me.
But you're going to learn today.
So, in 2022, the number of cases reported did decrease by 7%, which is good. Nearly half of the cases reported in 23 occurred in individuals aged 15 to 24. Something's going on.
Teens and young adults.
Come on. Males have had a constantly higher rate of gonorrhea compared to women since 2013. And it says that most cases occurred in men who have sex with other men, and it says 50% of the cases would have that going on. A reduction in cases reported by females have been observed since then. So reporting rates saw that there was a 15% decrease in females between 20 and 24, and 19% in females between 25 and 29. So as people are getting older, it seems that, your development is a little more stable and you're making better decisions. I would assume that may have something to do with it. That's just my hypothesis.
But I would also add in terms of education and experience, because with the other, like, what was it? With chlamydia and gonorrhea being the most prevalent ones. Yeah. I would imagine that, and it's being younger, so 15 to 24 is the age range. Yeah. Probably by the time you reach that age, and it's really common that's when you start to really sexually experiment. Yeah. They may have had it once, so then by the time that they turn 25, 29, they're much more cautious about. So I'd imagine that there's a correlation there between like education and experience being positively correlated with those decreasing numbers for those age ranges you just listed before.
Absolutely. So STIs, sexually transmitted infections, is a bacteria situation, and the curable ones with antibiotics, which means you can go to the doctor, they'll give you a pill or a shot or both or whatever. That's chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, and Microplasma genitalium. Mycoplasma genitalium. What she said. Those are the curable ones, right? Those are the things that can go away. Now, manageable STIs, but not curable, which means you get it, it's there. It's not going anywhere. You can manage it. You can live with it, but ain't no getting rid of it. HIV, herpes simplex virus 1 and 2. Human papilloma virus. I know y'all heard about that. We see those. Ads on TV all the time for HPV. Hepatitis B and hepatitis C, and Lord, molluscum contagiosum. Molluscum contagiosum. Molluscum contagiosum.
Molluscum. when you emphasize
molest,
it sounds like you're saying molest. Yeah, we're not saying
what is it?
Mollusk.
Molluscum.
Like the shell, like a mollusk. Okay. Like the sea. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like oysters. That's like a mollusk, right?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Mollusk means that's inside of a shell, doesn't it?
Oh,
doesn't it?
I don't know that.
I'll look that up later.
You like that? I don't know. I have no idea.
So I think it's like molluscum contagiosum.
Okay.
Which sounds like a Harry Potter spell.
Molluscum contagiosum.
But back to the point.
Yes. I felt it was important to lay out those stats and lay out those numbers to really put in perspective. Like when you're going out here and you laying down with people, this is just baselines of some stuff that could happen. Yeah. It's not just having a baby, right? Like it is you potentially having sex with somebody who either knowingly or unknowingly has something that could potentially change the way in which you live your life. We know HIV, we are, pretty familiar with HIV, and they've come a long way with different cases and medication for folks who do have HIV to be able to live long-lasting lives, and that's fantastic. It would be even better if they didn't have to deal with it at all. There are some of these infections that are reported when cases do come up that are reported to the health department. I learned in research that herpes is not one of those because it's so common. I really need y'all to understand that, like, it's not about nobody telling you not to have sex or how to do it, but understand that your life is on the line when it comes to laying down with people. And if you're not having these conversations, if you feel uncomfortable with asking somebody, when is the last time have you been checked? Are there any STDs that you've come into contact with? Do you have to take any medication? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a scary conversation. And I think highlighting how common some of this stuff is, the intention is to hopefully break down the barriers and the fear-mongering around it, because it happens. Yep. And you're not a bad person if you get HIV or herpes or, chlamydia. You're not a bad person. we all do have a responsibility, though, to ourselves and the people that we choose to lay down with. And so I just really want y'all to understand this. And I know that our education system really doesn't do a good job of even creating spaces for us to talk about this in a way that lacks judgment and that's just that open, a safe space. You know what I'm saying? I think when it comes to this stuff, it's very judgmental. Right. It's very Red Star-ish.
Oh, like
Scarlet Letter. Mm-hmm. It's very much that. Mm-hmm. And it should not be that way. Mm-mm. Because there are more people than we know that are dealing with this every day. The last thing is testing sites. If you are in Ohio, specifically if you're in the Cleveland area, we have preterm and Planned Parenthood. And I just want to plug that this is why having spaces like a preterm and a Planned Parenthood is very important. It's not just about abortions. It's not just about babies, right? It's about health, your health. So you can go to Planned Parenthood or preterm, and those are suggested as the best options for a sliding scale, meaning they can work with you depending on what your income is. Right. You can also go to community health clinics, local health departments, and lab-based private testing sites. More than likely, there will be a cost associated. I would always suggest looking into, a quick Google search can go a long way as far as free testing opportunities. People do have those, but it is a matter of looking for it because all of the good things that are provided are just not the things that are shared with us in an easy way. For free condom supplies and at-home HIV testing kits, you can reach out to Ohio HIV/STI Hotline at 1-800-332-2437 or visit OHIV.org. And please share it with a friend. Maybe comment below what is one thing that you didn't know that you just learned from the stats and the things that we shared, and how can you practice healthier sexual practice.
We're going to transition into a segment that we like to call slow cooker questions, which is just a play off of rapid fire questions. We are very verbose. Yeah. We have lots of thoughts.
In case y'all don't know.
And things to say. So we will never answer a question
rapid fire, nothing
like that. No. So we have rebranded rapid fire questions as slow cooker questions. And we have about 3 questions. And so we're just going to each take turns answering them. And since I just finished speaking, Glow, I'm going to let you read the first one.
Okay, cool. All right. What makes you feel freest when it comes to expressing your sexuality? I'm going to do it in 2 parts. One, like outside, and then versus in the bedroom. Ooh. So I'll start with in the bedroom. It's just really important to me to have had a conversation around like what I like, what do you like, what you don't like, what you do like, being honest about like health and stuff like that, like making sure that we're friends when we enter into the bedroom. Friends not in a sense of, oh, we're besties, but friends in a sense of we've been able to have a good conversation where we both can walk into this bedroom knowing that like there has been a level of like trust essentially
an
established.
Emotional connection.
Yeah, through us being able to be honest with each other. And have the conversations that help us be able to be like, okay, like we're on the same page. So now I can show up and be like the best version of myself in that space. Expressing my sexuality outside of the bedroom, what helps me be the most free is I definitely think that I really like fashion is a big thing for me. And I feel like the way in which I express my sexuality has a lot to do with the way in which I put on clothes and what I decide to wear. And I think sexuality is often attached to feminine energy, and I think it's both. And so I'm able to express my masculine and feminine energy in what I decide to wear, or both at the same time. Maybe I want to go a little 90s. Maybe I want to have the baggy jeans with a tight shirt. Now you're getting both of them. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that I feel freest in that when I'm able to like put clothes on that really emphasize and express like what energy am I in? How do I feel? And I have a good balance. I think I have a strong balance of both energies that can show up in different spaces. And so being able to really stand in whatever energy is leading in that day, it helps me feel freest as well.
What makes me feel freest in expressing my sexuality? I think I'll just second what you said. For a long time, I don't think I really had a sense of style. Like, I know there might be certain outfits that I would see other people wearing. I'd be like, that's cute. I could see me in that. Or, I can't see me in that. I couldn't be seen in that. But now it's like, now that I'm a little older, and I don't know, like, turning 30 is often marketed as, like, you really in your grown woman era. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really come into yourself. You're not, when you're in your 20s, you're kind of still trying to figure shit out. Like, I don't really know who I am, but I want to find her. And then when you get in your 30s, the idea...
She didn't bust through.
Yeah.
She's here.
We're known. And I think I've always had that quality of, like, unapologetically being myself. But I know, like, in my 20s and when I was in grad school, I was definitely really struggling with my identity in terms of my sexuality, like identifying as a queer woman, and being able to say that out loud. And I never felt like I needed to come out, even though I just said, like, having to say that out loud, that is essentially coming out. You said it in the episode 4, it was just like, I'm a human. I'm having a human experience. I'm a human being. Today, this is what I like. Tomorrow, who knows? Yeah, so just struggling with that, and then also being able to get used to and accustomed to the anxiety that I feel. I can be a very anxious person, like that can be, and I learned that throughout grad school, and just emerging into adulthood in that 18 to 24 era to like the 25 to 29, like, bitch, you out here, you an adult, you're responsible for you. So I think, like, fashion has helped me be able to adorn that in a way that I can take ownership of it. So I agree with you on that, Mark. In the bedroom, I can't speak too much of, unless we're just talking about self-pleasure in terms of, future engagements. Obviously, like, if you're going to be touching my body, I got to have an emotional connection with you. Like, I have to know that there's a trust there, that I feel safe with you, and some sense of play, and definitely communication. Like, those are going to be necessities in order for me to enjoy a future sexual engagement with any partner. Is like, there needs to be a sense of play in it, because if we too serious about it, like, if we hunching and you just like, I gotta get, I'm like, nigga, get off of me, like, I don't want to do this no more.
My perspective when I was younger and I was doing it was that it's for the man, it's for the male.
It's absolutely not.
And the whole point of me being there was just so that he could do me and be happy. That's some bullshit, and that's not what that's for.
That's the patriarchy.
Yes. That is not what that is for. You do not go into any bedroom just expecting one person to be pleasured out of it. And you don't go into any bedroom not communicating what pleasures you and thinking that you're going to be. It takes two to tango, okay? And both parties need to understand, like, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and is there even compatibility in that? I do think that there are a lot of people who are out here screwing people who they are not compatible with sexually. And so you find that y'all doing the act, but you're not actually enjoying it. That takes me to this, because y'all know I love the Lord and I got to bring it in here. I have to bring it in here. You talked about the sacredcy of sex. The fact that it is based on biblical terms is meant for those who are married, right? There are a host of folks who feel like the Bible and the Christianity is just rules. It's just rules. It's not really about the rules. It's about protection. God laid out a lot of the things in the Bible of what we should and should not do, not because he wants to tell us what to do, but because it protects us from a lot of shit that comes with us doing the wrong thing. We've given you only some of the stuff, only some of the disruptions that happens when you lay down unprotected. But there is a part of it that you don't see that could really have an impact on you. And so when you are walking around, regardless of whether you believe in God or not, really think about, like, it's not a rule, it's protection. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that's trying to keep you from having a good time. It's trying to keep you from walking into some shit that could completely change and shift your life forever. Something that you didn't have to deal with.
Slow cooker question number 2 is, how does feeling good about yourself connect to your sense of sexual freedom? I'll just take it back to what I was saying in response to the last question with, like, learning that self-pleasure prepares me for just being able to embolden and amplify that connection with a partner. So when I've learned to feel like that's okay and that feels good, I feel like that's going to empower when I am wanting to engage with someone sexually. It's just gonna empower that, and like I'm gonna feel more confident. I'm gonna feel more confident about how I move in that space and engage with that person. Versus if I still felt like really icky or guilty about self pleasure.
Similarly, I think when you feel good about yourself, when you feel secure in who you are, what you like, what you don't like, and you've gotten to a place where you can communicate that, and you can communicate that in a way that you don't feel bad about it. That even if you talk to somebody and they say, "Well, this is how I feel," it doesn't knock you off your square. Right. You don't feel the need to shift based on somebody else. You still can stand in what you like and recognize what they like, and maybe it just ain't gonna work with y'all, right?
Love that.
And so I think the confidence helps you be able to create space where you actually are sexually free. And I do think that we are in a fake sexually free thing. Like, we think we sexually free, but we really not, because we're not having the conversations or creating the space that actually allows us to do that.
I think it depends. I mean, I guess, like, obviously you're probably saying, like, in general, that's the energy, but, like, I think, no, there are some pockets of humanity that have really worked hard to be like, well, yeah, just like the BDSM. That's not the earlier thought that I had, but like, this felt like safer to go that route. That's fair. So with BDSM, like, people really know, people really rocking, like, you know, and if you're gonna engage in that community and like go up the ranks in terms of like just the intensity that can come with BDSM, which I learned what it actually stands for. I don't remember it now, so I can't say it, but like, I learned that it's like,
I knew,
bondage.
Yeah.
Bondage, domination. And sexual, like, saxomasochism or something like that.
Masochism is
yeah. And I was just like, oh, that's what that stands for. Okay, because I did not know.
I learned a few things about that whole space. Yeah. Weirdly, I learned that. Weirdly, I found out some things about that. But I will say, one of the things that I did find out was that when you engage in that environment at those clubs and stuff, there is education that happens when you come in. And so I do think,
and that's like the positive side of it. Yeah, because everything has a positive and a negative. You know, there's light and there's darkness. So
okay, so last question is, what does having a healthy relationship with your body mean to you right now?
Now, in this very moment.
Yeah. And right now, what it means to me is being more aware of, you know, what vitamins do I take? Am I making sure I drink my water? I personally like water a lot, but, you know, just being aware of continuously drinking water, taking the vitamins that are good for my age range. Like, my mom is a big vitamin person, so she had sent me a whole bunch of random vitamins. And so at some point I was like, let me look up what actually is good for me, my body, my age right now, what is suggested. Investing more into like my lotions and like my perfumes. Like, I have eczema on my legs, and I don't really, it's much better than what it was when I was younger. It's nowhere near like the severe cases of eczema. But I will say that, like, investing into my skincare, being intentional about finding a skincare that is made for me and my black skin, being willing to pay the extra coin for a nice body butter. All of those things help me have a healthy relationship with my body and help me show up more. I love smelling good. Like, I love perfume. I love when somebody tell me I smell good. So, like, being intentional about making sure that if I'm running out, I'm going to be able to like replenish that and make sure, you know what I'm saying? The small things. Those are some of the things that have helped me really have a healthy relationship with my body, and just taking the time to appreciate it and recognize that God gave me this body and I have to steward it to the best of my ability. And, you know, you're going to learn some things along the way. And the more I learn now, the better it will be for the children that I'm around, my friends, and being able to have conversations with my friends about things and ask questions and, you know, just not being shy. I mean, we alive. And like, I mean, probably 100 years ago, people wasn't taking baths and stuff, you know, like, You know, there are a lot of things that I had to learn about, like hygiene, that I just did not know, because like my mama was buying the dollar body wash, the dollar lotion. Yeah. I got eczema. The dollar lotion ain't doing shit for me. I put that shit on and it's like sliding off, you know? So it took me being outside of my like immediate family and like being around other different types of women and learning what they did and like figuring it out, like, you know. So me learning now, I'm like, I'm gonna be at least more prepared to engage with younger women who might not know, who maybe they just wasn't taught that, and maybe it had to do with like people just didn't have the money to invest in the good stuff.
I think there's a lot of assumption that these things should just be common sense.
Yeah, and it's just, and it's not. All like, sense is not common.
No, and there's a lot of things that you are taught. Like, I mean, we learn everything. I don't think there are very few things that just happen automatically. 100%. So yeah, there's an investment in education for a wide variety of different topics, and especially when it comes to maintenance, as well as your sexual health. So for me, what it means to have a healthy relationship with my body right now is to pay attention. So, you know, when I notice something, if something changes on my skin, like, I just make a mental note. So, because oftentimes when you go to the doctor and you say, like, hey, I've been experiencing such and such, they're going to ask you, like, well, around what time did you notice that this happened? And not always do I have it, like, locked in, like, oh, yeah, this was 2 weeks ago, or oh, this was a week ago. But to whatever ability I can, jot that down or make a mental note so that if it is a concern or something that I feel that I need to talk with my medical team or a provider about, I'm armed with that information, and then that makes it easier too for me to advocate for myself if they're suggesting like testing or something where I don't feel comfortable with, or I don't feel is necessary, then I feel empowered to be like, I'm cool on that. Let's revisit that later. Let's put a pin in it or whatever. And I think it also looks like getting my sleep together.
That's fair.
My sleep hygiene is terrible.
And you gotta get them Z's.
Yes, the recovery that the brain specifically, not, I mean, obviously all of the body, but your brain, because it's like so active, you need that. And being 30, like, I probably now I'm in a range where I probably only need maybe like a good 8 hours or 7. And I could probably still function off of 6 if that's consistently what I'm getting. But it's just all over the place because I will just stay up for as late as I feel like it. And I'm at an age now where it's gonna show up on me if I'm not sleeping properly. And not to be vain, I mean, I don't want to have crazy ass bags under my eyes and look like I'm 50 when I'm really only 30. Right. More than that, it's just like the body really does need that recovery to really set you up for your next day so that you can be impactful in the way that you want to be.
And I'll add to that, when you're asleep, your body heals and like regenerates, and like there are a lot of things that happen when you're asleep, and so that's even just to add to that, it's really important to create space for you to sleep well and to sleep good, get into REM, so that your body can do what it do.
I'm gonna make a do baby.
When everybody's eyes is closed.
If there was something that we spoke on today that is like, did I hear that correctly? Let me listen to that part again. Yeah. Or actually, I'm about to go look that up.
Yes, look it up.
Honey, I didn't know that. Think about any of the questions that you would have heard us discuss today, and like sit with that. You know, have this conversation. Answer these questions with your friends, your family. Like, absolutely do that, because honey, we here for that. Yeah. That elevation.
Elevate.
Because education is elevation, as the wise, the consciously would say. I can real quick just run them back for you all. Were the messages that you received growing up about sexual practices? How did that affect you? How does the U.S. culture around sexual health, body positivity, and creative expression compare with other cultures? How prepared did you feel about the changes your body's going to make over time? And how does that influence your body positivity? And then the last 3 questions were, what makes you feel freest? When it comes to expressing your sexuality, how does feeling good about yourself connect you to your sense of sexual freedom? And finally, what does having a healthy relationship with your body mean to you right now in this moment? So take some time. Think about it. Do some inventory. Any other closing thoughts?
I really just want y'all to be safe and understand that it's cool to walk in your truth, and it's cool to be who you are and show up, right? I just think that we really need to be thinking about what does that actually mean versus what is society telling us it means. I just want y'all to be safe, and I want y'all to understand that there are things that you cannot see that very much exist. And if you're not creating space to have conversations and to know who you laying down with, it only takes one time. Just like they say it only takes one time for you to have sex and end up with a baby. It only takes one time for you to have sex with the wrong person and get up with an STD that you can't get rid of, that will lead you to have to take medication for your whole life. And sex is not worth it. I don't care what nobody say. It's not worth it. And if you don't take responsibility for yourself and for creating that space for you, hey, listen, nobody else is gonna do that, because it could potentially stop them from getting what they want from you. So why would they? I want to stress that because I know the babies is out here. They doing it younger and younger and younger, and just don't get caught up.